This video is going to be a very, very, very graphic video. If you guys do not like listening to graphic content, cursing, please do not watch this video. This video will not be monetized. This video will have curse words, and this video will be raw and real. Now, this particular case weighs heavy on my heart because this is in the same city that I live in. So if there's anyone that knows how important this case was to our community, how much it hurt our community, it's going to be me. That it happened in the city where it literally shook our community, our valley that we're from. Now, I'm going to give you guys straight facts. I'm going to give you my opinions, and you guys can leave me your opinions. This story is about Gabriel Fernandez. He was born on February 21st, 2005 in Los Angeles County. His biological parents are Pearl Fernandez and Ezekiel Fernandez. Gabriel's biological father wasn't in his life. He was in and out of prison. He was never a father figure to Gabriel. He wasn't there when Gabriel was born. And later on, you guys will know why. When Gabriel was first born, Pearl had made it very known to her family that she didn't want this baby. And pretty much 3 days later, while they were trying to figure out where he was going to go, nobody wanted to take him. And Gabriel's great uncle, his name was Michael Carranza, and his partner was named, let's see, David Martinez. So David Martinez was the partner of Michael Carranza, and Michael Carranza was Gabriel's biological great uncle, okay? And pretty much his partner David was just his husband or his boyfriend or whatever. Now, them two were a gay couple, and they took him in, and pretty much his great uncle and his partner were begging Pearl to give him the baby and that they would take care of him. So that's exactly what ended up happening. After 3 days, and I quote, that they said, "Hurry up and pick up your baby. He's crying and he's annoying me." So right away, his great uncle and his partner go and pick up Gabriel, and they raised Gabriel for 4 years with them, and he had a loving home. He never, ever, ever had a problem. They've never had a problem with, anything like Child Protective Services being called on them. He never had any issues at all. He was always in great health while he was with his great uncle and his partner. At the age of 4, Gabriel's biological grandparents, which I'm gonna tell you guys this, and like I said, this is a graphic and it's gonna really shake some people, but his biological grandparents were Robert and Sandra Fernandez. Robert and Sandra said that they did not want Gabriel to be raised by two gay people, by two gay men. So that's the reason why they didn't want Gabriel to live with his great uncle and his partner. So that being said, they took him at 4 years old. At 4 years old, he had came and he was with his grandparents, and he was living fine. They never had a problem. He had a loving home. They never had any record of them mistreating him, and he was always in great health. And after Gabriel turned 7, which would be 3 years later, Pearl Fernandez decided that she wanted to be a mom again and that she wanted her children back. Now I guess a lot of people really, really, really think that the real reason why she wanted Gabriel was because she wanted a welfare check. Now, at this point, Gabriel's not the only child that Pearl Fernandez has. Pearl Fernandez had 4 children. She had 3 boys and 1 boy. And 1 girl. So 3 boys and 1 girl. I'm gonna keep the other 3 anonymous because that they're not involved and they're minors. But it was 2 other boys, the sister, and then Gabriel. Now, they were all older than him. And so she had, at this point, 4 children in her care that were hers, biologically hers. And I guess when she started to collect all her kids back, she wanted Gabriel back. So at that point, I guess the grandparents felt like they had to give him back to his biological mother. So that's exactly what she did. Well, not she, but them both, the grandparents did. So they give him her son back. And I'm gonna let you guys know that he literally had them at 7. And he was in Pearl's custody on October 2012. Is when Pearl actually had him. So that's when she gained custody of him, and that's when she started collecting welfare checks from him. And this is the big thing. Pearl Fernandez had a boyfriend named Asario Aguirre. And this is what takes a big this is going to be a big part of what it is. Now, Asario was a 6'2", 270-pound security guard. So he's like this big, tough guy or whatever. And I'm going to give you a backstory of these 2 people. Like I said, Gabriel Fernandez's biological father was in and out of prison. He was never in Gabriel's life consistently. He was never a father figure to Gabriel. Gabriel had always had other people that aren't his biological parents that have taken care of him. That being said, Pearl Fernandez has had a very, very troubled past. They say that she's had a lot of anger issues, that she just pops off. She was gang affiliated. They also came to find out that she's like very, very low IQ, and that she has like some disabilities as far as comprehension. When she was younger, she had also been gang raped and living like this street lifestyle. So her growing up wasn't this amazing unicorns and rainbow either. Now, as far as Asario Aguirre goes, he's never had a troubled past. And that's why this case is so mind-blowing, because everyone expected it from her, but no one expected it from him. So that's where this whole thing is confused. And that's why when they were bringing up people that know him and they were asking about him, a lot of people were saying that it was out of character, for him to even be dating someone like Pearl Fernandez, because Pearl Fernandez has had a track record of, being with gangsters, living this gangster lifestyle, being gang affiliated, being in and out of trouble, in and out of drugs. And Asario Aguirre was always a working man, always a very calm man. He was never explosive. And everyone said that Pearl Fernandez was super explosive, super abusive, and that every time they would fight, Pearl Fernandez would always get super physical with Asario Aguirre, and that she would sock him in the face and stuff like that, and he would always be telling her to calm down. So everyone knew that he was a very calm person. And another thing that I also want to bring to light, that from people that know both of them, they said that it was really refreshing for Pearl to get someone that's not gang affiliated and to get someone that's actually a working man, because everything she's ever had in the past has been reckless men. So that's very important to this story. But yeah, so now I'm gonna read you some stuff because it's way too much information for me to know off the top of my head. Yeah, so the Pearl regained custody on October 2012. Her and her boyfriend Asario called 911. And what happened was they called 911 saying that Gabriel Hernandez wasn't breathing. And when the paramedics came, they were actually shook. They ended up calling it a code 3. They took him to the Antelope Valley ER and they had him in the ICU. And when they call code 3, before they even get to the hospital, they already have surgeons on hand, the best doctors, and especially because at the age that he was, they wanted to save his life. At this point, he had no pulse. They were pumping him with adrenaline. They were pumping him with, shock therapy to get his heart going again, because at this point, he got a hematoma from blunt force trauma on his head. And it was very clear that he was bleeding from his head, because when paramedics got there, the story that Asario and Pearl Fernandez were feeding the police and the paramedics is that he fell and he hit his head. So they knew for sure that it was something to do with the head. And when they saw it, they knew it was a blunt force trauma and that he was bleeding out. And the reason why he was pretty much unconscious and pretty much almost dead was because he lost so much blood. And so at that point, right, that was the story that they had gave him. But once they went and they started cutting open his shirt and to get him going and getting his IVs going and start doing blood transfusions and whatnot, they have to jot down everything that they see, what might be a cause. When I tell you that when the nurses were on hand, they were running out of paper of how many things they were finding on poor Gabriel Fernandez's body. He had burns, like BB guns in his lungs and his groin. And unfortunately, Gabriel lost his life. He was in a coma, and they decided to pull the plug on him. And when they did an autopsy on him, I'm actually going to tell you what they did to him. I'm going to tell you all the stuff that was reported and what was found through autopsy. This is all real stuff here. They were, he had like BB gun shots. He had cigarette burns on the back of his neck. He had broken bones. He had old bruises, new bruises. He had kitty litter in his intestines, and he didn't even have not one piece of food in there, unfortunately. He had 2 black eyes. He had no more whites in his eyes. His whites in his eyes were completely red. He had broken teeth. All his teeth were shattered. What else? He had a blunt force trauma. They said that his skull was like a Rice Krispie. It was just like, and that was just what the paramedics saw, right? This was just what they were jotting down. And that's when they knew that this was far more than just, oh, he fell off the bed type thing. Now, the reason why this story got so big was not because he was the first child to die, or he was the first child to die under suspicious circumstances. The reason why this case got so big was because he died of torture and it was reported for 8 months. That's why this case got big, because it was reported and it was ignored. That's why this case got huge. That's why our community got enraged, because so many people were calling, so many people were filing complaints, so many people, even in the own child protective services like building, one of the security guards was saying, hey, like, he looks severely abused, and no one wanted to do anything. And this is what infuriates me. That infuriates me, because it's like, this is not okay. And that's when they figured out that this is a torture case, you know? But like I said, Pearl regained custody in October 2012, and he passed away on May 24th, 2013. So that means it was less than a year. Pearl and her boyfriend Asario tortured Gabriel to death. His teacher would make reports on how he would come to school all beat up, have black eyes, burn marks all over his face, his neck. Gabriel has admitted to his teacher on how his mom hits him with the belt and if that was normal. And the teacher would explain that some parents discipline differently. And when he replied by saying if it's normal if blood comes out. And that's the first time the teacher had ever made a report on that. On Gabriel's comments. And later on, she would be contacting social workers multiple times for severe neglect that Gabriel was visibly displaying, and how he would say that his mom would shoot him in the face with the BB gun, and all these reports would just be swept under the rug. Social workers and multiple police visits were being made at the home, and everything Pearl would say was noted and dismissed. They never checked, spoke, or even interviewed Gabriel at all, and to even check the conditions that he was in. As far as the damage, Gabriel's mental health and physical health wasn't determined until he died, and they had him in the ER, and they realized how neglected and tortured he was for an 8-year-old. Every nurse and doctor were in shock on how severe his body was mutilated and neglected. He was burned, shot with BB guns, made to eat kitty litter, choked, socked, thrown, cold showers, pushed, shoved, teeth knocked out, black eyes, cuts, broken bones, shattered skull. And they later figured out that he was humiliated. He was called gay. They would make him wear dresses. He had to sleep in a cupboard, and with a sock in his mouth or blindfolded. They were starving him. He wasn't allowed to play with his other siblings. He could only be in the cupboard, wasn't allowed to use the restroom. He would defecate in the cupboard and made to clean it. When they did his autopsy, his chart was incredibly filled that not all of the marks could be noted in the same paper. He had nothing in his stomach but kitty litter, and the cause of death was blunt force trauma from a blow to the head with a bat that was made by Pearl's boyfriend, Asario Aguirre. After Gabriel died, it infuriated the community. It caused protests in front of the DCFS office. The district attorney wanted the 4 caseworkers to take responsibility for ignoring the numerous reports made against Pearl and how they never checked Gabriel, believing everything Pearl Hernandez would say. They are also on trial for 10 years each, and their charges were later dropped, and the caseworkers did lose their job, but people are still upset that it wasn't enough punishment and they couldn't save Gabriel due to the reports from others and different places, and nobody did anything to save Gabriel. Gabriel's death shined a beam of light showing how the system is majorly flawed, and this flaw has costed Gabriel Fernandez's life. The reason why he has gone mainstream was the sheer fact that you cannot hide and say they never had a report. They could never say that no call was ever made. There was reports on top of reports on the well-being of Gabriel being compromised. He was looking beat up, abused, and nobody even bothered to help him. And the thing that really, really ticked me off was his grandparents knew that he was being abused. And you know, he would tell his family, like, I guess when he would go, he would tell his family, like, hey, you know, like, they're hitting me or whatever. And his family, like in family gatherings, they would see that he was severely abused. So his grandparents would send an older cousin to go sleep with Gabriel at his house to make sure that nothing was going on. After a couple of days, they would take the cousin back and Gabriel's torture began again, you know. The grandparents definitely knew and also turned a blind eye because no one ever brought Gabriel back to their house. No one ever fought for Gabriel. And you can clearly tell that he was physically abused very, very severely. And it's something that I honestly, there is no excuse in my opinion. I think that the caseworkers got a slap in the fucking wrist. Especially one of the caseworkers that was very aggressive, and she's known for being aggressive. That she was trying to cry me a river, talking about, oh my God, I lost my house. I lost this. Gabriel lost his life because of you. You closed a case that had like a dozen case reports on, and you closed the case. No one else did. You did. And you're complaining that you're losing your house, which I very doubt. Gabriel lost his life. And you're complaining about a house. No. You deserve to go to prison for the lazy POS that you are. For not even checking. Gabriel got beat every time the teacher would make a report. And the teacher would report it again that, hey, every time I call, he gets beat. And they turned a blind eye to it. It doesn't take rocket science to put 2 to 2 together. But you decided to ignore that. And not just her. 4 of them did. The district attorney should have reprimanded them. Should have made them pay for what they did. They're lucky that they just lost their fucking job. They should have got 10 years for Gabriel's life. They should have. And a lot of the reasons why they said that they were punishing him, and you know, once everything came out to light, was because he was gay. There is no reason and no excuse for the heinous crimes that these 2 POSs have done. There's nothing. There's not one excuse that you can possibly make that will make anything that they have ever done to Gabriel all right. They had so many options to give him back to his grandparents, give him back to his great uncle, and they decided to keep him, to torture him, to kill him. They would keep him in a cupboard, gag him with the sock. They would starve him. They would beat him. They would choke him. When they had the brother and the sister up on the stand, they couldn't record it, but they have the translation through type. And they were talking about how Azario would grab Gabriel by the neck, lift him all the way to the top, choking him. Gabriel weighed like 50 pounds. Super severely underweight, by the way. And Gabriel was this young little 8-year-old boy. And Azario is a 270-pound, 6'2" fucking gorilla. A monster. They would pepper spray him in his eyes. His brothers and sisters would say how he was crying and crying and crying. They would throw him in the in cold showers to try to take the bruises away because he had so many bruises. He had burns all on his forehead. He had his whole entire neck burnt. There was not one space on his neck that was not burnt. Chunks of skin off of his jawline, his whole entire body. They would make him wear girl clothes and call him a girl, saying that he was gay. And you know what? Those people that are up there crying, his family, they have no excuse. They admitted to knowing, and they did nothing. They didn't take poor Gabriel from them. They didn't. All of them wanted to, not all of them are, oh, this, that. No, you didn't. If you guys really cared about Gabriel, you guys would have taken him from that. You guys knew exactly how Pearl Fernandez was torturing him. You guys knew that they called him gay. And that homophobic behavior came from you guys, the grandparents. Came from the grandparents. Because that's the reason why they took him from the loving home that has raised him pretty much since the day he was born, which is his grand uncle and his partner, which was it was homophobic. They took him away because they said they didn't want to have gay men raising him. That homophobic behavior that Pearl Fernandez and that other idiot Asario Aguirre have, that came from monkey see, monkey do. That behavior came from Sandra and Robert Fernandez. The apple doesn't fall far from the tree. Even if he was or was not gay, that is not their right. He's 8 years old. He was a child. He was a baby. And the saddest part is that even though his mom would torture him, she would allow her boyfriend to beat him, he still loved her. 2 weeks before he died, in school, they were doing a Mother's Day project. And he wrote how his mom was so beautiful and that how he loved his mom. And they were making little coupons that you can give to your parents, like, oh, a coupon and I'll do this. One of the coupons that, it was an activity that they were doing was, and I'll be good. That, to me, speaks volumes, because Gabriel has also been found, that was also noted, that he was writing suicide letters. And it's like, how does an 8-year-old even have the thought to even want to do that? The pain that this little boy endured was horrendous. And we know for a fact that they would make him eat cat feces. Because, see, now Pearl Fernandez had like 5 cats. And I guess one of the chores that they would make Gabriel Fernandez do was to clean the litter box. Now, if Gabriel did not clean the litter box to their standard, they would make him eat whatever was left in there. And the siblings would say that he had to, point blank, and that they would sneak him food through the crack of the cabinet because he was starving. And when Gabriel Fernandez was in critical condition at the hospital, AV hospital, you know what his fucking mother said? His mother said, "Where are my cats gonna go?" What kind of a fucking piece of shit would be worried about your cats versus your fucking son in critical condition? This here, ladies and gentlemen, will not be the first and it won't be the last. Unfortunately, Gabriel Fernandez has shed light and is one of the biggest cases that has happened because it's been reported. And the most disgusting part of it all is that it's already happened to our city again. A boy in Lancaster. This happened in Palmdale, California. It wasn't as gruesome as Gabriel, but it was the very same timeline where the mom is this wannabe gangster, I don't know what, and she's with the boyfriend that's not the biological father of her child, and he and she beat the son, and because it was gay, because they thought, oh, he was gay. This absolutely fucking repulses me. This is something that I have no fucking words. And which, you know, when there was people taking the stand and talking about how they know Mr. Aguirre, his like ex-employer said nothing but good things about him, and that she believes he's a good person, and that she's never seen any aggressive side of Mr. Aguirre. And actually what's crazy is that a lot of people said that. A lot of people that knew him said that about him. Even Mrs. Hernandez, which is pro Hernandez, right? Family said he was not like that. That's what kind of throws people off, right? And it was something that, which brings us to the next brick wall, and how, you know, they pretty much tell the employer, how can someone be a good person if he admitted to beating poor little Gabriel? And his ex-employer was just like, nope, that's not him. That's not like him. And he was never aggressive. He always wanted to help. Like, she was, a lot of people that would talk about Mr. Aguirre had nothing but good things to say about him, and that he was very respectful. And that's what's kind of fucking mind fucking, you know what I'm saying? But what I guess the bullshit that Asario Aguirre ended up saying, the reason why he did it was because Aguirre claims that he bursted into rage because Gabriel told his mom when Aguirre was not in the same room, and Mr. Little Gabriel said, "Mommy, please leave Tony," which is Asario Aguirre, but his nickname was Tony. He doesn't treat me right. And later on that night, Pearl told Mr. Aguirre what Gabriel said earlier. And when Mr. Aguirre approached Gabriel to ask if he had said that, Gabriel responded, "No, I didn't say that." And Mr. Aguirre exploded with rage and started socking him uncontrollably and couldn't stop, ultimately leading to his death. Now, that's what he claims that happened, that they were in a room, that I guess he wasn't in that same room, and it was only Gabriel and his mom in the room, and that he begged his mom, like, please leave Tony, like he hits me, he doesn't treat me right. And now Tony is Mr. Asario Aguirre, but that's, I guess, the nickname that in his family they call him. And I guess later on, Pearl decides to tell Mr. Aguirre later on that night, and that's when he supposedly exploded him. Now, I think that is true, but that's not the only time he's beat him up. I think that comment really pissed him off, and I think that's why he got the bat and gave him a blow. Now, after that blow to the head, he wasn't moving, and they kept yelling at him to get up, and he wasn't getting up because at that point he has a full-blown hematoma on his head. He's done at that point. So they grabbed him and they threw him in the shower and started throwing water, and he wasn't getting up. And that's when they called the other daughter, which is Gabriel's sibling, to come and help clean all the blood up before the paramedics got there, because they were going to call 911. And we only know this because Gabriel Fernandez's siblings said that's what happened. But, oh, Lord, Pearl Fernandez was claiming, oh, no, I wasn't even in the room. Like, get the fuck out of here. You were in the fucking room. You decided to tell that fucking animal what Gabriel was telling you, pleading to you. And that's what caused this whole, for you to lose your child. But obviously she had no remorse. The whole entire time she had no remorse. She was just like, whatever. They were recording her like a couple of days after, like when the trial was really getting heavy and they were going to sentence her. She was trying to talk dirty to Mr. Osorio. Like she's just like mentally not there. Like she is just a fucking psychopath, you know? And he is no better. He didn't say nothing, not one tear, not one sign of remorse, like nothing. And it is so unfortunate. But I do want to let you know that there is rumors going around that they have beat the living shit out of Pearl Hernandez in prison. Now, I don't know about you, but I believe in karma. And in prison, there's rules that you have to abide from. And, well, abide by, I should say. And those torture or anything to do with abusing a child is not tolerated in prison, whether you're in female prison or in male prison. And what's the most funny thing is that word in the streets say that when Mrs. Pearl Hernandez got to prison, she felt like she was all high and mighty and that nothing was going to stop her, only if she knew that in prison, everyone knows everyone's case. You're not going to be a secret. You're not going to just run away, unfortunately. You're going to pay for what you did. And actually, she didn't want to get the death sentence, so she pled guilty to get life with no parole. And guess what, hon? A death sentence would have been merciful for you. An injection would have been merciful to you. But that's actually why I'm happy. You didn't get a death sentence. So you shall be tortured in prison for the rest of your fucking life. Killing yourself would probably be the best route, because from word on the street is that you've been sliced and diced with the tuna can, burnt with hot coffee, just like you did that to your poor 8-year-old son. Multiple times. So I think, and now they have you in the hole. They have you on isolation. They have you on solitary confinement, but you can't be in there forever. You're going to get out, and they're going to keep doing that to you. And now for that other fucking piece of shit, Mr. Osorio Aguirre, you did get the death sentence. But thank God in California, you have to have I think anyone that's in death row, you have to end up fucking waiting like 10, 15 years. That's great. 10, 15 years of fucking torture. You'll want them to inject you, bitch. And I honestly, that's how I fucking feel. You don't do that. I'm sorry, but there's no fucking excuse. People like that don't deserve merciful deaths because they had no mercy. No mercy for Gabriel. None. And anyone who tortures their children, rape people, and do all of that, when you get sentenced, son of a bitch, and you go to prison, you're not going to get away with that. You think whatever years you're going to get, you're going to get street justice. And this here is to let you guys know, if you guys see something, if you see a child that looks like they're in need, call the police. Make a report. Say it's an emergency. Make that effort. Do what's right. And you could save a child too. This case has me so shook. If you guys haven't watched it on Netflix, watch it. It goes into far extreme detail. Pictures, videos, court filming in the courtroom. Watch it. Feel it. You will feel the pain that everyone that has a heart feels. And after you watch that documentary, you will feel the same way I feel, that they should fucking be tortured. You don't do those things to children. They are pure. Gabriel was 2 weeks from his death, and he was still writing to his mom that he loves his mom. There's special places in hell for people like that. And if you don't pay in this life, you're sure as hell going to pay in the next one. Comment down below what you guys feel about this case. If you guys have any questions, I'll be more than happy to answer them in the comment section below if I didn't address them in this video. There is a memorial, wall painted, and they have like all candles set up for Gabriel here in town. I could make another video. I need to take him flowers. It's in my soul. I have to. And I actually knew someone that lived in the same complex, like apartment complexes, as this little boy. It's crazy. Small world. And yet we couldn't spare his life. So we gotta make his death count. We cannot change that he's dead, but we can change that his death wasn't worth nothing. And that Lancaster boy is a whole nother can of worms, because they're still on trial. I'll make sure to make a video on that. Till next time, guys.